Hi. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this morning's live. And yeah, I hope you had a chance to try out some of the hacks that we shared. So round about what's happening in your mornings and how you went to sleep last night. Hi, Emma. Welcome to the group this morning. So today is day 3 and everybody's been trying out a few different things. Morning, Diana. So hopefully what we're really intending is it's the start of spring. So this is a bit of a chance to get these habits into your life and see how they feel and try them out alongside other people. So when you're posting and sharing, you're giving inspiration to other people and you're also getting a bit of feedback from us. And it provides a sort of a little bit of accountability, as in, are you going to try out these things? How do they feel? And also realizing that some things work for some people and not others. So somebody was posting that they really like cacao at night time, and someone else was like, oh no, cacao is really disturbing for me. But that's because we're all individuals and we all respond to things differently. So cacao, for example, has a very activating molecule in it, and for some people they just won't feel that. And that will be outweighed by all the really relaxing elements of cacao, because it contains tons of magnesium, and it contains tons of tryptophan as well. So there's lots of stuff. Hi, Caroline. Let's see if you're coming in. I have sent you an invite. Let me see. I'll press that again. Send requests. There you go. So for some people, the relaxing side of the cacao is stronger than the activating side of the cacao. So it's different for everybody. We're all individuals. And yeah, there's so much we can learn from each other. Morning, Caroline.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I was just talking about cacao and
I heard. Do you know, it's funny to think about cacao in the morning, isn't it? I have a friend who does a little cacao ceremony in the morning, and so it's the morning for us in the UK if you're listening on replay. And I just think it's actually a really beautiful thing to do. She does a ceremony around it and gives it to you with love. And it just, one of the things that we don't do enough is honor our food, is it? Like bless our food. Be thankful for our food. We dive straight in, and obviously that we could get into a whole conversation about how we shouldn't rush to eat food because that creates all sorts of problems in itself. It's so funny to have to teach ourselves how to eat, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think blessing across all cultures through all time, right? Most cultures have got a ceremony where there's a bit of like a pause before you dive straight in.
Definitely. And I don't know, it's so touching. I went to hers for, I think it was like an equinox or something like that, and stayed over afterwards. And then, we'd just had a beautiful kind of equinox or solstice ceremony in the garden, with a fire pit, and we threw all our old things we didn't want anymore into the fire, like little kind of wrote down, don't want any more of this in my life, and I'd like to welcome in this. And then the next morning we just did this, fabulous like cacao ceremony. It was just really sweet, just the two of us. And I just, kind of remember that. And I think a lot of what we do at menopause is about learning to appreciate those pauses, isn't it? Those quieter moments, that less rushing, less estrogen driven life that we've had for however many years it is we're being fertile.
Yeah, there's a definite shift, isn't it? And it's a bit that I think that's the thing about perimenopause, is it's such a shock that your body is changing when it's been so stable for so long and you've got so used to inhabiting, this space that has this energy level and likes, doesn't like that. And then perimenopause, it all shifts. And it's really
Yeah,
hard to not hold on to like, no, I don't want to change. But then if you can get into the confidence of like, oh, this is changing, actually it's cool, and there's a different me under there. But I personally, I'm really like, no, I just want to stay the same. It's difficult for us.
definitely. I remember, and I've done a few, I can think of some, Canva posts that I've done where that's exactly, it's like fear about what was coming up, what was changing, what was I, a big thing actually. And I remember writing this was, what was I welcoming in? What was I letting go of? And, you know, when you don't lose yourself, but you definitely shed some things that you've been doing, you know, for a long time. But I just wanted to tell you something which is so, you know, like we're both homeopaths and we come from the magic of that, which, you know, until you've experienced it in some way, it's you know, how do you describe that? You know, so many people come in with physical complaints, you know, but really what happened when I had my first deeply acting remedy, I'd been to see a homeopath many years before and actually had a lot of physical reactions to my remedy. But when I had my son and I had a remedy, it really kind of reached super deep, and it really kind of, it was magic, you know, it just reached down and made me look at things that I'd never considered in my life and never looked at. So without kind of going into too much of that, this morning I was literally just about to buy a ticket for a gala event, because this week is Homeopathy Awareness Week, isn't it? And I was literally just about to buy a ticket for it. And a colleague of mine wrote to me and said, "Do you want a free ticket?" And I was just like, I can't believe I'm literally putting in the credit card details. And he said, "Would you like a free ticket to Homeopathy Awareness Week?" And I was like, wow, that's actually magic. And he said, it's been, he said, or what? I said, homeopathy is amazing. In my reply, thank you so much. And then he said, or was it the marmalade that you gave me that I was putting on my toast this morning? And I said, well, of course it was the marmalade, you know, because we spent the whole of our career with people going, it must have been that and not the homeopathy, you know. And I was like, homeopathy's so subtle and works this deep magic that sometimes you look back on and think, wow, you know, things have really changed since that point. You know, what we haven't talked about so far is homeopathy and the course, is it?
Yeah. So what we do with the course is that every week is an education topic. And I think at the moment we're doing a lot of, you know, like informal chat, but when we do the course, it's quite a solid piece of education with handouts and
Yeah.
slides and really like concise information that we share. And as we move through the education part, we are also giving you homeopathic remedies for 6 weeks. So, and the homeopathic remedies follow a very specific protocol, which is the way that we treat our clients as well. So we come in with a liver cleanse because it's basically in midlife, most of us have got sort of low liver energy. We've been exposed to loads of chemicals. We might have taken some medications in our lives. We might have been wine drinkers, and then we move on from that into the hormonal remedies and really getting into the sense, into grounding, into being able to release. So all the things that we've talked about, as in what are our real challenges at menopause, letting go, establishing new boundaries. So somebody was sharing on the group about their boundaries, and for many of us, we hit into menopause at the same time that we've got caring responsibilities for oldies, caring responsibilities for puberty. We can have a girl in puberty at the same time as we're going through menopause in the same house together. The chaos in that and the support that is required that society doesn't even acknowledge is incredible. So that's what we're doing with the remedies in the course. And it means that instead of just coming in with either just the remedies and no education, or education and no remedies, is that there's a really profound shift through that 6-week period, and that we're really aiming. I mean, we've done 2 days here. This is our 3rd day, and I hope that you're already starting to think, okay, these are some habits that I could stick with. So imagine that over a 6-week period, and the way you've had a chance to embed and try out habits all the way through. So yeah, the power of the homeopathy is a big part of what we're offering as well. They're so great. I mean, and I take homeopathic remedies daily, and I'm continually moving around them, and I'm always astonished at how useful they are and what else can shift and improve in my health. So yes, it's amazing work. Yeah, you've gone a bit quiet, Caroline. Have you just pressed something? So okay, so I think Caroline's frozen for a minute. So Today, the topic is all about, we're going to call today's sessions Protein Packs a Punch. So one of the things that happens to us at menopause is that our body starts shifting into, it moves away from reproductive energy, doesn't need reproductive energy more, and the body starts moving towards what does it need to do for longevity. Oh, you're back. So I was just saying, moving on to blood sugar. I still can't hear you. Could somebody let us know in the group if you can hear Caroline or not? We just have a look. Give us a thumbs up if you, or is there a thumbs down button? What else can we do if you can't hear her? I'm just checking if it's just me. Who can give us a? Do you want to come out and come in again? Shall I remove you? No, says Emma Pearson. So I think Caroline is silent, says Inga. So I'll remove you and bring you back in. And we do need to hear, we want to hear Caroline. So let's see, just pop her back into the call. The Facebook Live is just not a very stable platform. Right. Thank you, everybody. Joanna, Joe, Kerry. Cool, back. Try now. Okay. Try again. Okay, well, I'll carry on. So at menopause, what's happening is the body is all about longevity. And one of the big things that means for us and how we feel is that we used to have a system that would have blood sugar that was very quickly grabbed up by the body and stored. And the reason the body would grab it and store it, and they would grab it and store it, is so that it was stored for reproductive health. So if you think back, I don't know if anyone's still ovulating, but to those times of like really high sexual energy at ovulation, or having loads of energy in different parts of the cycle, what was happening there was your blood sugar had been stored, the sugars in the energy had been stored, and your body was releasing them at appropriate times. And also the reproductive cycle uses a lot of energy, all that laying down of womb lining, ovulating, releasing eggs. There's a lot that like the body's doing. But when you're in menopause, the blood sugar changes and you end up with lots of sugars basically being kept in your blood, and they're there so that your brain can use them really quickly. So Caroline, hi, and I've added you back in again, and my live is saying you are adding. So the brain, so the blood sugar now is basically sort of ready to go at any time, but that means it can go up and down really easily. It means that it can surge and it can crash. And the way that feels in surging and crashing is a bit like when you see a child who's eating like a whole Easter egg, and you see the surge and you see the crash. You're back.
Hi, can you hear me or not?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, I just came off my phone and then flipped all the apps away. Who knows what? It's just so weird, isn't it? There's no notification that your audio's not on, or you can see your camera's on. But there you go.
Well, I was just talking about what's happening with blood sugar. So we've got this, like, suddenly we end up with this unstable blood sugar, which is great for our longevity, but because we live in the modern world and we have tons of food and we often eat too many carbs or sugars, our blood sugar starts to flip about. You know, evolutionary, it's an amazing sort of hack that the body's doing, but in the modern world, we've got to start to think about our blood sugar at menopause in a way that we have never thought about it before. Maybe the last time was when your parents said, don't eat all that chocolate because you're going to have a massive sugar crash. And
they weren't that awake in the 70s, can I just say?
They
have no idea, you know.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah.
And all that, and blood sugar surging and crashing, feels like anxiety, that feels like hot flashes, that feels like really irritable. It can feel like exhaustion. And it can wake us at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning with a big surge of anxiety as well. So you can see how many perimenopause and menopause symptoms are like linked to this blood sugar picture.
Totally. It was a huge one for me because I was you know, child of the 1970s, I loved sugar. I had all those chemicals, you know, as part of the sugar, because that also came in, all the colorings, all the chemicals, you know, and it took me years to ditch the sugar habit. And of course, we turn carbs into sugar very easily. And that seems to ramp up at menopause, doesn't it? That you
Yeah.
eat those carbs and it ramps up, you know. So biggie is when we eat carbs, you know, when in the day do we eat those? And if we eat them too late in the evening, what's the impact of that on our sleep? You know, that's a hard yard, you know, and I feel a lot of what we share on the course is like us cutting our teeth on how difficult it is to do menopause these days, and then sharing the wisdom about how you could do it better than certainly I did.
Yeah, and there's so much in our week which is all about nourishment. What we're sharing is nothing restrictive, nothing denying. This is a time of nourishing, of understanding, and particularly what works for you. So understanding how to eat, not particularly like what not to eat. It's what to do and how to do that in a really gentle and nourishing way as well. Because there really are some big do's and don'ts at menopause. And I think a lot of what we see on Instagram is from male influencers, is from women of reproductive years. We do not hear who's following a 70-year-old Instagrammer at the moment, or a 60. Very few of us. So we're pushed by what works for a 25-year-old living in LA under constant beautiful sun. And that is not what is right for our bodies at all.
Totally. And, you know, Joanna's just put a really good comment in. I struggle with blood sugar crashes and forget to eat until it's urgent. And, you know, absolutely, that was a lesson that I needed to learn. And fasting is not good. Fasting is not your friend in perimenopause, you know, and you know, I've been talking about this in other places this week, because you know, that information that it's a great thing doesn't apply when your blood sugar is unstable. And you know, the big goal is to bring in our lovely progesterone, you know, but the blood sugar balance is fundamental. And it was such a big lesson, you know, and sometimes that manifests as mood swings. Imbalanced blood sugar can be sudden anger, sudden you know, reactivity to some, overreactivity to something, over anxiety that could be showing us that actually our blood sugar needs to stabilize. And there's lots and lots and lots of things that we teach which are very easy and actually very low cost before you reach for a supplement, you know. And that's what we're trying to do in this. We'd love it if you're still every day doing the lymphatics, you know. So I'm doing that from day one. It feels fantastic. Try and do it on, you know, two ends of the day, beginning and end of the day, throughout these 4 days, and note, does that improve? And then yesterday, you know, the challenge yesterday was to get out into the light. Do that again today. I'm going to do that today. And Fiona and I are giving tips about how difficult that is when you live on, you know, the first floor. What floor are you on? Is it 4th?
I'm on floor 6.
Yeah, 6. Yeah. You're nearer the sun.
I tell you what, so one of the things is in lymph, which you can really notice in your lymph rushing, is your under eye puffiness. So watch over the next 4 days and see whether this stuff that you sometimes often wake up with that really puffy, or when you see those sock indents around your eyes.
Yeah.
Give your skin a poke, see if what it does. Does it bounce back? Is there an indent there? And that means your lymph is sluggish. And so when you push in and it's just straight back up, there's no lymph issues. So you can start to actually change how you look with a bit of lymph flush, with that free hack is amazing. Also, blood sugar, which I found so interesting. So the queen of fasting, Mindy, I think it's Mindy Peltz. I might be getting her name.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
Well, she has just brought out I think it's, oh, I don't know what the title is, but she's basically brought out a book on how to eat in menopause finally, and she just cut down all the fasting stuff and she's put in good carbs. So not light carb, not simple carbs, which is what Caroline spiking your blood sugar. But she says, oh, at menopause, it's good to eat those nice weighty carbs, potatoes, carrots, sweet potatoes, which we talk about in the course. So we are actually we're ahead of the yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Because loads of menopausal women have been following her book, even though it's called Eat Like a Girl. Like, we're not girls
We're
anymore.
not girls anymore.
Not how we want. So I'm really happy because I have so many clients that say, oh yeah, I'm doing this. And I'm like, oh, how do you feel? Are you stressed? You've been crying, you're meal skipping, you're like not eating any carbs, which is so difficult for your adrenal glands. We want those lovely complex carbs. So yeah, influencers. Yeah.
We're the influencers.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, and a lot of this is learned through, like, you know, I've said, you know, like experience and just going, wow, women are suffering, and here's why. And you know, there's so many environmental factors as well. But you know, more of that, I guess, and we dive deeper on the course. So just to say, for the whole of this week, the early access tickets are available for the course, and we'll be closing that later this week. So do go and have a look at that. I'll make sure, actually, I'll make a note to put some links into the group for the course, because I don't actually know that I've done that. I've popped it in the emails to you. And if you're watching this, do hashtag replay. That really helps keep the lives live and present. And we won't close the group immediately, but obviously we'll only keep it open for a few days beyond this free, you know, sprint or challenge or what, you know. It's really hard, isn't it, to give it a name. I've thought, even when we were doing that, like challenge, you know, who needs a challenge at menopause? Who needs to sprint at menopause?
It's a gentle reset.
Yeah, exactly. We went with Kickstart, you know.
What are we going to do? So two things. It is a discounted ticket, so please do take advantage of that. And what do we do about prizes, Caroline? Because you have
prizes. I wanted to give this because I mentioned this in the first session. This is a bottle of organic, reading the label, always read the label, organic cherry juice concentrate. And I was going to send this to somebody who had posted about her nighttime routine. And I think it's Nancy who showed a book in the garden. Is that right?
Was it Nan?
I think it's Nancy. She was reading. I thought that was such a lovely post. So the more you contribute, the more you talk, the more you share, the more likely you are in for a prize. So I need to find out Nancy's address, so I'll drop you a line afterwards. I'm fairly sure it's Nancy, who wrote a fabulous, she was reading her book. And you've got some prizes as well. What have you got as a prize?
Sleep bundle. Okay, so I have got some of my absolute favourite things. First thing is ground flax.
Love it.
An ultra flora, so this gets your gut microbe going beautifully. A women's very pro multi, which is a very specific female formula. Probiotics, female probiotic.
Oh, I love those. Those are really good.
And a digestive enzyme. So these are things that we recommend all of these on the course, and these are useful for everybody. There's nothing kind of, you know, that's going to trigger you or not trigger you in them. So yeah, this is digestive enzyme. Love, get your digestive juices up, increase your nourishment. That's an amazing one.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm definitely and then let's choose. Should we choose? I mean, really, prize giving is partly about your contribution, partly obviously drawing a name out of a hat. I can see people who've joined the live as well. And I just wanted to answer you, Joe. You said, if I eat a baked potato, hummus and salad, I will crash out asleep on the sofa as if I've been drugged. So I put potatoes, regular English potatoes, into the bag of simple carbs. Yes, I find they are. So I tend to encourage women to switch to more complex carbs, what traditionally we might call low GI carbs. So the sweet potatoes, the root vegetables that are not potatoes, not regular English or Irish potatoes. So I tend to go for those. What do you think, Fiona, about potatoes? You know, potatoes, yeah, they're
I
not they're
I
not appropriate for everybody. It's Nicola, not Nancy. It's
I
Nicola. I'm
I
awarding this too, by the way.
well,
Nicola.
so but that indicate what you're talking about there with that potato crash is definitely your blood sugar basically leads it causing a rapid spike and then a big crash.
Yeah.
So that there is signs to me that your blood sugar, you need to be working on stabilizing your blood sugar more, because you should be able to tolerate a potato, maybe not like a bag of Haribos, but so I definitely say, as Caroline says, avoid now because you can see that that's spiking your blood sugar too much, but start to work on your insulin sensitivity and your blood sugar, and you can work with someone to do that. So yeah, I think with that, one of the ways is to start upping your protein. So protein in the morning, protein snacks, and protein at dinner. So hummus is got a bit of protein, but perhaps you could add more protein to offset that carb. And proteins and carbs together are really what we're looking at to keep our blood sugar stable. So if you're having a big potato, that would need quite a lot of protein to offset it. So the way I tend to eat potatoes is that they're a smaller part of my meal compared to, say, a meat stew, and there's a bit of potato. It's not the other way around.
Totally. Yeah, that's exactly what I would say. Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I do see potatoes, you know, the white rice, the flour, particularly when we get into a whole conversation about the flour, which we won't do today. But yeah, I do see those as easy blood sugar spikes, and yeah. So somebody else has posted the same and said, you know, that she used a blood sugar monitor. That's Michaela, and a jacket potato, beans and cheese, worst. I was like, yeah, that would do the same for me. So for me, very little carbs, much more on the protein, which brings us to today's challenge, doesn't it?
Yeah, so today's challenge to start to stabilize blood sugar is protein. And we talk a lot about this on the course, but protein with every meal, building your meals around protein. And if you go for more than 4 hours without eating, have a protein-based snack. And that's because we don't store protein well. So we have to keep our levels of protein up. So protein is generally really easy. If you build your meal around protein, you've generally always got a little bit of carb in the cupboard. You've normally got some fruit and vegetables that you can add to that. But it's the protein bit that we have to get into our shopping lists. So our challenge is take a photo of a meal where you've added in a bit of extra protein, or a protein snack that you go out and buy yourself today that you're going to have. Perhaps that's a slice of ham. Perhaps that's a nice bit of cheese. Perhaps it's hummus and oatcakes. Something that you really love, and something that's going to encourage you to eat protein snacks, particularly if you've got a tendency to be a bit of a meal skipper, or you're waiting for someone to come home from work and you're like, or you're back late from work and you're going long distances without eating. That's going to really throw your blood sugar off. So protein with some carbs, a little bit of carbs, potato too many, whole potato too many carbs. So yeah, that is.
Brilliant. And we can put some little suggestions for that in the group, you know. So today, for instance, I've just cooked a couple of very small potatoes. And I don't eat a lot of potato, but it's very small potatoes, some gorgeous fresh asparagus, and I'm going to take some cherry tomatoes, and I'm going to pop all those in the pan with lots of egg. So I'm going to make a big omelette with tasty, juicy, organic veggies in, and I might put a bit of cheese in. Might put a bit of parmesan in that. So where's the protein in that meal? The protein then, you know, with 3 eggs, it's going to last me a couple of meals. So maybe some today and some tomorrow. That's a great balance for me. You know, if I was to have a baked potato with that and a bit of omelette, that would be too much on the carbs for me and my metabolism. So I have to work hard still at keeping the blood sugar balanced. I don't want to feel bloated, you know, and some people do react to potatoes. I will say that. So just to give you an idea, you know, we can pop some photos in, can't we, of our favourite meals, but the goal is each meal, where is the protein? And we can make a complete protein if we have a predominantly vegetarian diet. Even a vegan diet you have to work really hard at as a vegan, but lentils and rice, you know, creates a complete protein for the body. Just be careful that that rice doesn't spike your blood sugar, you know. So how could you add a bit of extra protein to that meal? You know, that's what we're looking for. And it really does make a difference. For me, eating protein regularly, this is the difference it can make. I did not want to take thyroxine. So I'd gone years and years of not realizing that it was easy for me to spike my blood sugar, and lots of ways in which potentially I was doing that. And then my thyroid read really low when I was 46, and I was like, I don't want to take thyroxine. And I was eating predominantly vegan diet that wasn't serving me at that time. I was also stressed. My kids were also going through exams. My partner was away, lots going on. And I learned to eat protein regularly. So 3 times a week, I would have eggs. Twice a week, I would have fish. I hadn't been doing that. It didn't suit me to do less than that. I got through menopause with my thyroid intact. I did not want to take that medication because that medication leads to heart problems. That medication leads to high blood pressure. I don't want that on my list of things to have going into older age, so we can do it naturally is the message. We just need the right matrix. And that's a lot of what we're sharing, even though it feels small. That protein at every meal makes a massive difference to the menopause matrix.
Yeah, love that. And I think my menopause story was fasting. I absolutely ruined my adrenal health fasting. I became more and more anxious. I wasn't eating until 11 in the morning, and I was stopping at 6 at night. It was throwing my sleep out. The more I looked into it, the more I was told this was great for me. And I really had to realize the hard way that fasting is not appropriate at perimenopause.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so for me, constant protein has completely, along with adrenal support and homeopathy, has restored my adrenal glands and my energy. But as a tendency to be a meal skipper anyway, fasting fitted with that. It fits with, actually, I've got a bit of ADHD and I'm too busy to eat and I can't really be bothered. It's quite interesting how I made it fit, even though it clearly wasn't working for me. Yeah.
Totally. We're health practitioners with years under our belt. We weren't taught this. This is all new. This is all breaking new ground, which is really incredible. When I think about that, it is really incredible. So much of what we're talking about now and on the course, as you heard with Mindy Peltz, is ahead of the curve. You heard it here, is what I want to say.
I know, but it's astonishing that we have so little teachings on this from our generationally, anybody. We all just come into this like with
Like
nothing.
newbies. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, things are beginning to change. Doctors but your GP, your MD will not know any of this. It's crazy.
Exist. And yeah, there we are for 3 years before our menopause, falling off a cliff. So yeah.
Great. So let's round up for today. So protein at every meal. Do have a look at the course, and we'll put some links actually into because as I say, early access ticket, you save about £50, I think it is, on the course price. Your remedies are included. Yeah, we'd love to see you there for more of this, really, because yeah, thank you, Joanna. She appreciates us. So honestly, it's the only thing I can do. I can only do honest. Oh dear, what a journey. But good. Yeah. So look, have a great day. #replay when you listen again. That really helps keep it there for other people. So Facebook's like things disappear so quickly. #replay if you're watching. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to send us a photo of your protein meal, your extra protein you've added to your meal, then that's absolutely fine. We'll include you in the prizes. I'm going to send this to Nicola. I need your address. And yeah, we'll chat about other prizes, shall we, a bit later on.
Yeah, and also tomorrow we're here at 11, so it's a later session tomorrow.
Yes, 12.
12. Okay, great.
Well, yeah, Thursday is 12. So
Okay,
yeah,
lunchtime.
that's what I've got in my diary. So
Okay,
that's right.
all right, great. So 12 for tomorrow. Perfect.
Brilliant. Perfect. All right. Lots of love. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you. Bye, bye, bye.
Bye. Bye.